You're not going to believe what's sitting in front of the Chargers right now, because on the surface it looks like just a Week 18 game. But underneath it, there's a decision that can protect January or sabotage it in one afternoon. There's also a name in the AFC West being floated like it's impossible. And the fact that it's even being discussed should tell you how aggressive this league is about chasing a ring. And while some people are already mentally in wildcard mode, the reality is this is an audition day, a message day, and a chemistry day. Bolt fam, be honest. Would you rest everyone or keep your foot on the gas? All right, now tap that like button, subscribe if you're new, and drop your take in the comments as we go, because I already know this is going to split the fan base. Here's the thing. When you hear Week 18 with not much on the line, your brain wants to relax. But for the Chargers, Denver is the kind of spot that's most dangerous when you treat it like background noise. Because this isn't about the final score. It's about survival. It's about protecting the face of the franchise. Think about the cruelest way to lose a season that's been this promising. It's not a lack of talent. It's one weak point getting stressed until it snaps. And everybody watching knows exactly where the stress point has been. The blind side, left tackle. That edge where, when it goes wrong, your quarterback doesn't even see it coming. Since Rashawn Slater went down in training camp, and then Joe Alt went down mid-season, the Chargers have basically been rotating bodies at left tackle and praying it holds together. And last week against Houston, it didn't. Veteran Bobby Hart got his shot, and it turned into a nightmare. 4 pressures and 3 sacks allowed on Justin Herbert before Hart was benched in the first half. Jim Harbaugh tried to explain it by saying Hart had been playing well at right tackle and just couldn't find a rhythm on the left side. But Bolt fam, rhythm can't cost you your quarterback. Because Herbert is already living in chaos. He's been harassed all season and still played like an MVP candidate anyway. He's been sacked 54 times, and he's still wearing protection on that left hand because of the broken bone. So when people say, well, the Week 18 finale in Denver doesn't really matter, I get what they mean in the standings. But it matters in the one place that decides whether you're a playoff threat or a playoff tragedy: pass protection. And that's why this game becomes Audition Sunday. If you can get live reps without putting Herbert in further peril, you do it. You treat it like a controlled environment where the mission is simple. Keep number 10 healthy and figure out, right now, who you can trust to hold up at left tackle when the wildcard lights come on. We've already seen the Chargers try different options at different times. Alt, Austin Deculus, Foster Sorrell, Trevor Penning, and then Hart. And that's not even a knock on those guys as people. That's just reality. The position has been the most alarming, shaky, and dangerous spot on the roster for weeks. So if you're Harbaugh, your priorities in Denver should be crystal clear. Take Herbert's helmet away and find someone, anyone, who can protect the blind side when it actually counts. And while the fan base debates rest versus rust, I'm asking a different question. Do you trust this staff to learn from what the season has screamed at them? Or are we going to need one more scare before everybody gets serious? Because while we're all staring at the offensive line, the next conversation is the kind that makes the AFC West uncomfortable. It's being floated. Nothing is locked in. But the fact it's even out there tells you the Chargers are being viewed as a destination for a true game wrecker. Maxx Crosby's name keeps showing up in trade talk. And if you're a Chargers fan, you already know why that hits different. Crosby is the kind of generational pass rusher that changes a defense instantly. One of those guys who doesn't just get pressure, he changes protection plans, changes third and long, changes how quarterbacks feel in the pocket. But there's a reason this isn't simple. Crosby has made it clear before that he doesn't want to leave the Raiders. At the same time, you can't ignore the reality around him. If the Raiders keep collapsing, that stance can change, especially when the culture and the win-now window don't match what a star wants. They're sitting at 2-13, and if you're Crosby, you're not getting championships there anytime soon. And with him turning 29 next August, there's also the cold business side. Teams have to decide when to cash in value before the years start taking a toll. So why do the Chargers show up in that conversation? Because Harbaugh ball is built on winning in the trenches, and Jesse Minter coaches defense with an aggressive mindset. If you drop a superstar like Crosby into a unit like this, suddenly the Chargers don't just have a good defense. They have a defense that can bully playoff teams. And if Khalil Mack comes back for another run, You're talking about a pass rush that can drag you through ugly games when the offense isn't perfect. That's the dream scenario, right? The kind of splash that turns a playoff run into a real Super Bowl level conversation. But let me say this, even if you love the idea, you also have to ask what it costs, how it fits, and whether the Chargers would actually do it. Because they didn't land a high-stakes move this past offseason, they went more short-term, like signing Deshaun Hand for relief up front. That tells you something about their approach. So I want you to picture it. Would you rather see the Chargers spend big ammo on a superstar edge, or would you rather see them pour resources into making sure Herbert is never in survival mode again? Because the next piece of this puzzle brings us right back to Week 18, and it might be the most interesting, meaningless game of the year. The Chargers have very little to play for in Denver. They're locked into a wild card spot in the AFC. And yeah, you could talk yourself into playoff positioning. Maybe you even prefer a certain matchup. But the most likely scenario, when you factor in Herbert still managing that hand issue, is that he gets the rest. And if Herbert sits, that's where this turns from boring Week 18 into a real storyline, Trey Lance. This is Lance's prime opportunity to put something on tape right before he hits free agency. And I know how people react to his name. Some fans hear former top pick and imagine a comeback story. Others hear it and think, yeah, scheduled loss. Both reactions make sense. Lance has shown flashes of elite athletic ability, but the passing consistency and pocket confidence have always been the question. In his 5 career starts, he's completed 66 of 117 for 879 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, plus 213 rushing yards on 46 carries. That's the profile of a player who can stress a defense and also disappear if the pocket speeds up. Now, doing it against Denver is a tall order. The Broncos are fighting for the number 1 seed, so their defense isn't showing up in preseason mode. They're going to bring pressure. They're going to test your decision making, which is exactly why this matters for Lance. If he looks calm, efficient, and competitive in that environment, teams notice. If he looks shaky, it confirms what critics already think. And it matters because Lance is about to be 26. If he wants a real shot to start somewhere, he needs a situation where there's at least a competition. He's not getting that in Los Angeles. Herbert is one of the premier quarterbacks in football, and he's missed only 5 games in 7 seasons due to injury. So if Lance starts in Week 18, it's not just about the Chargers resting their guy. It's about Lance putting an audition on film for the next locker room. Here's where Bolt Fam gets to have some fun with it. What do you want the Chargers to do with that game plan? Do you want them to open up the playbook a little and let Lance actually try to make throws? Do you want them to lean on the run game and keep it safe? Or do you want them to treat it like a live tryout for depth players, especially up front? Because the offensive line has to be addressed with urgency. Because everything circles back to the same truth. The Chargers' hopes of winning the AFC West ended with that 2016 loss to Houston, with mistakes stacking up, misses from the most accurate kicker in football, and a brutal penalty from the referees. And with that loss, the Chargers dropped from the number 5 seed to the number 7 seed. If Houston and Buffalo handle business in the final 2 games, the Chargers are stuck there. So now Harbaugh has to make a Week 18 decision that the previous regime mishandled years ago. 3 years ago, same opponent, same building, same nothing major on the line vibe, and the Chargers played starters for a half. That's when Mike Williams got hurt and missed the wild card game, and we all remember what happened next. And just to be clear, Mike Williams is not on the roster now. He rejoined the Chargers in 2025, but retired on July 17, 2025. So this is a historical example, not a current situation. The point is the lesson. If you're Harbaugh, playoff seeding is not a good enough reason to risk important starters. Not with Herbert already nursing a broken hand. Not with a shaky line in front of him. And not when the Broncos are playing like it matters a lot more to them than it does to you. Could the Chargers climb? Sure, technically. But it would take Denver losing focus, plus help from other results, and even then the ceiling isn't that dramatic. And there's another uncomfortable reality. If you climb, you might run into a matchup that's actually worse for you than staying put. That's why the number 7 seed isn't automatically a nightmare. There's a scenario where the Chargers go to New England in the wild card round, and that might actually be a favorable matchup. The Patriots don't have an elite pass rush built to exploit your offensive line the way certain other teams do. And defensively, Jesse Minter could have a field day against a second-year quarterback if the plan is sharp. Then, if you survive that, you're looking at a Broncos team you know well, and you've already beaten them. It's almost ironic. The path people panic about might end up being the cleanest road to a deep run. So I don't want to hear rest makes you rusty, like it's a law of physics. Teams take bye weeks all season, and we call it an advantage. But when it's week 18 rest, suddenly it's a problem? The math isn't mathing. Give Lance the reps. Let him throw to Trey Harris and Keandre Lambert-Smith. Let the depth guys fight for their jobs. Let the backup linemen get real snaps, and give your stars a day off. Derwin James, Khalil Mack, everybody who actually swings a playoff game. Protect the locker room. Protect the chemistry. Protect January. And here's the question I want you to answer in the comments. If you're Harbaugh, what's your priority in Denver? Do you chase the best seed possible no matter what? Or do you treat week 18 like a controlled audition and walk into the wild card round with your stars healthy and your biggest weakness finally addressed?